I'm going to start today's video with defining the word competition. Competition is a situation in which two or more parties strive for a common goal which cannot be shared, where one's gain is the other's loss. In other words, it's a rivalry where the success of one party results in the failure of others. The definition of competition, for most of us at least, I feel is really the reason why we all feel a sense of anxiety, depression, sadness, loneliness, or a feel of lack of worth, or like we're not good enough. I also feel that our sense of competition is arbitrary, and a lot of it has to do with what we consume on a daily basis. If I were to sit across from you and ask you, what does your Instagram feed look like? I'm sure a lot of you that watch this are filmmakers, DPs, directors, and if you're like me, most of my Instagram feed, 99% of it, as I scroll, consists of other DPs, other directors, and film work. Like, that's literally what my Instagram consists of. And I can almost guarantee that every time you go on Instagram, you refresh it, there's a new piece of work, there's a new thing that a DP shot, there's a new piece that this director came out with, and every time you refresh, there's something new. And that tends to be a bit overwhelming, I can find. And a lot of us tend to think that every DP that we see is working because, every time we refresh, there's a new work. And it's just, more often than not, we believe that the supply of work is limited and only awarded to the top people. Yes, granted, the top projects, the top work is obviously given and offered to the top people because that's who deserves to be doing those projects. They're the one that are capable of doing it. But I feel like we could also get into the mindset that any work that we think of is limited, and it will only be granted to the people that we consistently see on Instagram, or the people that we think of as top level cinematographers or directors. And again, to a degree, this is right. Filmmaking is competitive. It deserves to be. It has to be competitive. We are in a field where you have to be good at what you do. You have to be skillful. You have to understand technical aspects. You have to be a good leader. You have to understand good communication skills. So it's really important to understand that filmmaking alone is not a competition, but within the space of filmmaking, it is a very competitive space, and rightfully so. You have to be good at what you do in order to get the work, in order to do the projects that you aspire to create. I also find that a lot of the times, my Instagram feed, as I'm scrolling, doom scrolling, whatever the heck you want to call it, I tend to have these blinders on. And I find that because my Instagram, because my social media, YouTube, whatever, is so focused on filmmaking, that's all my brain is thinking about. My world is so narrow in just filmmaking that I tend to forget what's outside of filmmaking. I tend to forget what else is in my life. And by having these blinders on, you immediately just get sucked into the trap of, if I'm not doing that thing, I'm failing. If I'm not doing that thing, I am losing traction. If I'm not doing that thing, I am going to be a failure in my life. I'm going to be a disappointment. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to be able to be a provider, a supporter, whatever the case may be. Fill in the blank for you. This is what I find, for me, happens when I have these blinders on and I'm only seeing and focusing on filmmaking and no other aspects of my life. Life of a freelancer is not all sunshine and rainbows. We all know this. This is what we signed up for this. We knew this coming into this field. Freelance life is not easy. It's extremely difficult. It is unpredictable. Sometimes it's unbearable. And sometimes it's also very prosperous. Sometimes it's exciting. Most of the time, for me, I find I thoroughly enjoy freelance filmmaking, or just being a freelancer in general. It provides a sense of freedom. It provides a sense of flexibility. It provides a sense of ownership in what I am able to do with my life. Granted, ownership, freedom, flexibility only comes with the fact of you needing to be working in a way to be able to provide yourself with some sort of financial stability to provide that freedom and that flexibility. So it's a double-edged sword, because obviously if you're not working and you're a freelancer, you have all the time in the world. So that in and of itself is considered freedom or flexibility, because you're not being told what to do. You could do whatever you want. We want to be thriving. We don't want to be just getting by as freelancers or filmmakers. We want to feel success. We want to feel like we're making a difference. We want to feel like we're making projects that are making an impact, and we're making money. We're providing financial freedom for ourselves, our family. It's all very important aspects to being a freelancer, and what it means to be free and flexible and have ownership of your life. I want to share a story that I heard from a world-renowned DP. His name's Hoyte Hoytema. Obviously, sure, most of you guys have heard of this gentleman. He shot pretty much most of Christopher Nolan's recent movies like Tenet, Oppenheimer. He shot Dunkirk, and he's the ones that's shooting the big IMAX cameras. But for those that don't know him or don't know his backstory, his life might seem super glamorous because he is one of the top DPs in the industry right now. But he told a story at a roundtable, which I'll share a link in the description. I recommend you watch that video. But I'm just going to share a quick quote from him about his life prior to actually becoming who he is. He said that before he became who he was, he spent years unemployed, sitting around in his apartment in his underwear, smoking cigarettes, waiting for an opportunity to come his way. And I don't mean waiting like he's just doing nothing. He also said that this time of being unemployed, this time of not working on set, is a prime opportunity for you to learn to discover yourself. It's a prime opportunity for you to learn new things, further your enhancement in education in cinematography or filmmaking. Because you have all the freedom, the flexibility, the time on your hands, why not utilize it to be productive, and why not utilize it to further yourself in this field so when opportunity arises, you are prepared? And that, to me, is the definition of luck. A lot of us see these filmmakers out there and we think, oh, they're lucky. Sure, they might be lucky, but what is luck? To me, luck is when opportunity meets preparation and you're able to capitalize on that. The hard thing to do is recognize the situation that you're in. Recognize what is possible within this situation that you have been given, and how to capitalize on it, how to utilize it, and how to be productive within the situation that you perceive to be a very crappy situation. I come from a place of not knowing any of you personally. I don't know any of your backgrounds. I don't know any of your financial backgrounds. I don't know anything of your responsibilities. I'm just coming from a place of understanding what it's like to be in a place where you're not getting hired, and immediately your brain, your mind results to, this sucks, I suck, I feel like a failure, I'm not good enough, where that is the easy route. That is a route that I take often, and that's something that I've been working on over the past couple years, and I've tried very hard to start taking the harder route and acknowledging the moments of being home and not being hired, or having nothing on my calendar coming up. These are the moments where it's important to look at your life and look at where you are and ask yourself, what can I do right now to further improve myself as a cinematographer? What else can I do to maybe create a side business? What can I do to create content? What can I do to further help my health? Go to the gym, eat healthy, whatever the case may be. When you're sulking, when you're feeling sad, it's easy to let everything else go by the wayside and just feel sad and do nothing about it and just sulk in your own sorrows. That is easy. But I encourage you to step out of that comfort zone of sadness and try to explore a new way of thinking and a new approach in moments of not being hired, in moments of slow times, essentially. Recently, I spent a few hours one day and I went to my local rental house. And for those of you that have a rental house near where you live, I highly recommend going to that rental house, getting familiar with them, building a relationship. And what I did was set up a little scene. I got a backdrop, some lamps, set up lights. I had some friends, and I brought my Venice and tested every lens possible with a bunch of different filtration just to see what looks I can get out of things. And I didn't go with any specific technicalities or any goals in mind. I just wanted to go with testing things, play around, and just see what different looks I can get. And I wanted to have a sense of playfulness back in cinematography, because often when we work, our life is considered we have jobs, we're serious, but we sometimes forget about the playfulness of being a cinematographer or filmmaking. And for those of you that aren't DPs, maybe it's writing that script, maybe it's creating that passion projects that you've been holding off for a year. Maybe it's just time that you stop waiting for things to come to you and you start to go after it yourself. You start to make things happen in your life. To all the filmmakers out there, remember that each path is unique and success is not linear. The journey is filled with ups and downs, and the valleys are just as important as the peaks. Those valleys are what shape us. They're invaluable. That's what make us resilient, and that's what helps us become who we ultimately are going to become. So as hard as it is, embrace this part of your journey when you're slow. Embrace this moment in time in your life. Get creative. Find fulfillment in fun. Enjoy the art of being a filmmaker and being a creative. Go back to your roots. Just remember why you started filmmaking in the first place. Your love for your craft is your greatest asset. And remember, there is room for you in this industry. There's always room for new people, new voices, and sometimes you have to have these moments of slowness to find your voice in order to put it within this industry. So that's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed today's message. Hopefully you found some encouragement. I will see you guys next time. Have a great day. Peace out.